coming to you. I'm Jenna Moncton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor. And on today's episode, we are talking about, well, Christmas and the holidays. And we're going to talk about like what's going on in the greater Moncton area or directly across the province too, because Jenna has this really great website where you can go and find out this information about all things holidays. And I was thinking actually on my drive over to the studio today about one of my favorite things as a kid. We always got very excited because we would trim our tree while the Toronto Santa Claus parade was being televised. And I wondered, because I grew up in Ontario, that was a thing, but was the Toronto parade a big thing out here too? Like, did anybody watch it? No way.
Well, I'm saying no.
Okay.
But I have to put the caveat that I grew up in a house that didn't have cable TV. So maybe for people in New Brunswick, it was a thing, but I didn't grow up in New Brunswick. And so, and we didn't, like, I think I was in grade 6 when we got cable. Up until then, we had 3 channels. And I don't remember really the Toronto parade. I have been to the Toronto Santa Claus parade.
Okay,
and
but that's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's really cool though is when you're talking, kind of that level of excitement and that level of stuff, Moncton's parade is right up there in terms of the size and how long it's been around. It's one of like the top 3 really in the country.
Yeah.
They're Winnipeg, they have a lot of bragging rights.
They have a lot of bragging rights.
And so does Toronto. But, Moncton's parade's been going since 1967.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's all volunteer driven. And it's a large parade. If you haven't been, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. This is kind of our like coming to you as people who did not grow up in the area, all the kind of things that we've learned over the past several years of like, things that people just think are tradition or they just know these things and you move here and you're like, what is an Antler Breakfast?
Right.
What are you talking about? Those kind of things. So, but just while we're talking about that idea of like always trimming your tree while you watch the Toronto Santa Claus parade, for me growing up, the kickoff to the holiday season was always the Christmas Daddies Telethon.
Right.
That happened the first weekend in December. And in Cape Breton, that was massive. Everyone I knew watched it. Everyone I knew fundraised for it. Everyone knew what it was. It was this huge deal. Celebrities flew in for it. Like, I met all kinds of cast members from another world as a child because of this. It was really crazy.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the kickoff of the season. And I moved to Moncton, and people started doing stuff now in the middle of November. And I'm like, what is happening? Because if you are new, this is your warning that as of like November 20th this year, it's Christmas. Yeah, it's all on Christmas. There is one weekend in Greater Moncton that really just kicks off everything. And to me, it happens about 2 weeks earlier than I was used to growing up. And I've slowly come to be on board with it now. And it's growing too. It's kind of the season is expanding.
It is expanding, absolutely. I sent my mom actually a picture on the 12th. The kids and I put up the Christmas tree because we got an artificial tree this year for the very first time. So that was very exciting. And I sent my mom a picture of it, and she wrote me back and she goes, "You never cease to amaze me." And I was like, you cannot name me Natasha, which means child of Christmas, and not expect me to live up to my name. So Christmas tree is already up in the Taylor house. We are almost completely done with our decorating, but I've been listening to Christmas music since August, and it's a thing. So when I moved to the East Coast, I was like, middle of November, let's do this thing.
And I have to say, like this week, this past little, the couple days has been fun. We had that first snowfall, and we were driving, my daughter and I were driving in the evening, and we're like, oh, you can see someone's got their tree lit up. And it was just like, but in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, they've got a tree up already this early in November. I'm so not used to this, because in my family, we had real trees, and so they didn't go up till like much later in December. So it's interesting as things shift. But anyway, we're gonna give you, all of you who are watching, if you live here all your life, chime in, let us know, like send us a note and tell us what we missed or what you think we should add to this. But this is really for you people who have moved here. You're having your first real Christmas in the Greater Moncton area. We're gonna give you some like insider information, some explainers. So I mentioned the Antler Breakfast, which is really, I would say, kind of the second event in the kickoff. So I'm going to quickly mention, I think the season in Greater Moncton really kind of kicks off now with the Riverview Light Up.
Yes.
Which happens on the Thursday night of the 4th week of November.
Okay.
Is how that works. But on the Thursday night, so this Thursday coming up, if you're watching this now, listening to it, the lights go on in Riverview. That's something that's only happened for, like 6 years
maybe
now, if that.
Yeah.
But the whole waterfront, 7 p.m., the mayor turns on the switch and everything comes to light, and it's amazing. It's also very busy.
Yes.
So if you don't like crowds, if you have to worry about traffic, you want to avoid Riverview around 7 p.m.
Yes. Absolutely.
On that Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And those lights stay on right through the holiday season into January, so you have lots of time to go out and enjoy them.
Yeah, they do make a festival-ish of it as well. You can go into the Chocolate River Station, and they have some vendors that will be set up there, which is always really neat. And the town of Riverview, too, is very proud of being very sustainable. So they do provide hot chocolate and ask you to bring your own cup, which I love. I think that's a fantastic idea. Sometimes along the trail, too, they'll have some of the high school kids set up giving away candy canes to the little kids walking it. So if you get a chance to go and check out the lights at any time, they're spectacular. If you want to avoid the crowd, like Jenna said, they're lit up every night. But
if you enjoy
it's
that
such an
excitement
atmosphere,
of a crowd,
yes,
it's so fun.
Yeah.
They do such a great job.
It's
but
so cool.
Yeah. It's an event.
It's
so that's the Thursday night. And then Friday morning, you can go to the Antler Breakfast.
Yes.
You've been more recently than I have, so you're going to tell us a little bit about just exactly what an Antler Breakfast is.
So every year, the Greater Moncton Progress Club puts together this giant breakfast. They have the main one in the Delta, but some restaurants in Dieppe and in the north end of Moncton, and sometimes Riverview as well, will have their own little Antler breakfast. So that you don't have to try to jam into the Delta or wherever's closer to work, right? Everybody that comes in gets a set of the headband antlers, and you wear them with your meal at the Delta. They'll have someone come in and speak about the Progress Club and other great things that are happening around the Greater Moncton area. Then they use that money to help support kids in our area. So these are kids that maybe can't get out of the hospital for Christmas, or especially for the Royale Greater Moncton Santa Claus Parade. They'll bring them to the pedway that's in between the library and City Hall.
Yes.
And they set the kids up in there to be able to watch the parade in warmth. So they use some of the money for that as well, and to buy, I believe they buy them gifts at the same time. So
yeah, and they have to rent a bus to get them there. It's a pretty big deal to bring these medically fragile children to the parade and to set them up there. And there's a lot of businesses that help make that happen, but the community really makes that happen by going to this really fun breakfast on the Friday morning. And the first year that I lived here, people were talking about it, and I was just like, I couldn't understand why it was an Antler breakfast, what it was.
Yeah. Are they eating
moose?
moose?
It was a breakfast fundraiser thing, and then all of a sudden I saw just downtown filled with people with their antlers on, and everyone in this cheerful mood, and the lights are on downtown. And that's also that Friday is when Turner's Christmas at the Coliseum starts, which is the massive craft show here. I didn't even look to see how many vendors. No. It's well over 100. I don't know the exact number this year, but it's amazing. People line up for this to open. I did that once.
Did you?
I did it once, yes. One of the first years I was here, when I was working early morning radio, so my work day was done at noon. I didn't have kids, so I was like, oh, I'll go stand in line for this 2 o'clock craft show opening, and was blown away by the line and then by the amount of stuff and the talent, and just the whole vibe is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've also learned, so this is another pro tip. So if you don't love the big crowds and you're someone who's gone to Turner's at the Coliseum, or you haven't yet, but you're like, ooh, big crowds aren't my thing, but I really love craft shows.
Yes.
If you also don't like the crowds of the parade, you want to go to the craft show on Saturday evening.
Yes, yes.
So I did that the first year Clara was born. So our daughter was born in July, so she was still really little that first year for the Santa Claus Parade. Wasn't really keen to bundle up a 6-month-old and take her out in the cold at night. So that was one of the only years I haven't gone to the Santa Claus Parade. And instead, I went to the craft show at that time, and it was just like, look at these wide open aisles. I'm just gonna
You
make
can
my
actually see
way
everything.
down.
Yeah.
It was lovely. And the vendors are very like relaxed, and you have a chance to actually stop and talk. And it's really a fantastic time to go out to that as well. And now, if you are going to the parade, don't worry, you've got Friday, all day Saturday, and Sunday to go to the craft show.
Yes, and I will put in, and I don't know if he's there this year or not, but the best Santa Claus ever. Photo quality is spectacular. He is legit, real beard, everything. He used to, and I'm not sure if he still does, but I have a couple of autographed photos from him over the years.
You have Santa's autograph?
Sure do. And he is like only at Turner's. This is the only time that you're going to see him. So there is always a very long lineup for him. So maybe you want to check that out on Saturday night as well, and go and get that great photo with Santa, because he is incredible.
And for people wondering about photos with Santa in the greater Moncton area, yeah, a lot of the craft shows will have Santa come and visit, which is fantastic. The two main spots to go and get your typical photo with Santa, he is scheduled to be at Champlain Place this year. The mall ownership has changed hands. They are still expecting to have Santa there. I believe he's scheduled to show up on November 22nd for photos. And Bass Pro, he will be at Bass Pro again. Bass Pro, you can go online. Well, if you're watching this or listening, you can go online now and you can book your time. They're in chunks. It's not a like, you must be here at 5:15. There's, kind of a window. You can book your time.
Yeah.
But Santa at Bass Pro sometimes does have his schedule fill up. So if you're really keen to get those photos done, you do want to probably book that ahead of time.
Also, because the Bass Pro Santa's free. So that is a huge selling point for that Santa. You can obviously buy packages, but your initial picture with Santa is free, and that's why we go there.
And I have no insider info at this moment what the setup will be at the mall this year.
Yeah.
I just know
though.
that yes, he is planning to be there, anticipated on the 22nd of November. So speaking of the mall, that's always something that comes up in and around the parade. So we should probably kind of join that discussion with the parade. So
Okay.
the Royale Greater Moncton Santa Claus Parade is happening on November 23rd, which is Saturday.
Okay.
It's really kind of the first of the Santa Claus Parade series that happens in this area. So basically, there is one that we'll have missed by the time you watch this. Sorry, St. John. But starting then, I guess technically starting Friday night, Shediac has their parade on Friday night. Saturday, it's Moncton. And then just boom, 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 right up until December 14th. Every weekend there are some parades happening in and around. So there's a whole list of those on Pickle Planet. Yeah, right there. There's this lovely little photo that lists them all that Tosh brought up. So the last one in that series is Salisbury, which is a really nice little community to come visit.
She may be partial to Salisbury.
But I know like Salisbury and Petitcodiac parades both have really good reputations for being small in terms of the crowds, but big in terms of the floats and the spirit of the parade. But the big parade is the one here in Moncton. Riverview, Dieppe, and Moncton all kind of help put this on, but it's a volunteer event. It's not a city event by any of those municipalities. It is a community event that happens. There are roughly 80 floats and entries, which makes it one of the largest parades in the country for Christmas. So it starts at 5 p.m. at the corner of Cameron and Main. And then it goes down Main Street, right past the mall, and then it stops right there at the corner of Paul and Champlain. Santa does not go up any side streets, and Santa is not guaranteed to be seen before Cameron Street. So Cameron to Paul, that's your chunk of street that you have to be on to see Santa for the parade. It usually takes about an hour for that parade to go past wherever you happen to stand. Now, a lot of people will share their opinions about the best places to watch the parade. That's really kind of personal choice. I can give you a couple spots that are, kind of tested and
Tried, tested, and true?
Yeah,
Come on,
so
spill it.
So if you're coming with really little ones and you're worried about bedtime, because the parade starts at 5, it takes about an hour. So if you are thinking you wanted to watch it like down by the mall, you're going to be out till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. If you have little ones, you're worried about bedtimes, you want to be up towards the front end by that Cameron and Main area. Personal favorite, in front of Atlantic Lottery.
Right.
Anywhere in that little section, there's what's called the subway. I'm still not 100% sure why it's called the subway. It took me ages when I moved here to understand what people were talking about. I would call it a train trestle.
Yeah.
It's called the subway. Someone will tell me why someday. Anyway, the parade goes under that. And what's really cool about that is there is one particular float. It's a Christmas tree. It's also kind of your signal that you're coming towards the end of the parade when you see that tree. The tree has to collapse on itself to go under the subway, and then it grows on the other side.
It's
and so
so cool.
watching that tree grow, it's like one of my favorite things.
Agreed.
It's so beautiful. That's kind of your signal too. There's the Christmas tree, there's, Mrs. Claus float and Santa Claus float. So when you see that tree, if you've got little ones going, how long, or you're the parent going, how much longer do I have to stand in the cold? When you see the tree, that's when you know you're coming towards the end. The parade entries do also hold like numbers up. And so if you get into the 60s, you know how far along in the parade you are, kind of thing. City Hall is always a popular spot in Moncton. There's a lot that happens outside of City Hall. Rogers usually sets up outside of City Hall to record the parade, so you will be able to watch it later.
Set up your Christmas tree, decorate your house while having it on in the background, thanks to our friends at Rogers. Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's also where there are a little bit of seating available. They do put up some bleachers there. There's also, City Hall does its own little kind of welcome event that night. It's a good spot. And then, of course, down by the mall is always a popular spot. I would say if you're someone who is going to come and do that, please be considerate of the fact that the mall is a business. And if you're going to come to use their parking lot, you should also come to use the facility, and you should come. And I really love coming early, spending the afternoon there, do some Christmas shopping, eat window shopping, eat an early supper in the food court, and then go out to watch the parade. It does get really busy down that end, so if you have little ones, keep that in mind. It gets very bunched up in that area, I find. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is that along the route this year, there are 5 family fun zones. So the family fun zone means that for about 1 hour before the parade, so either from 4 to 5 or from 5 to 6, depending on where you're at, there will be live music, and there'll be some of the mascots will be there kind of dancing around and having fun. And there's, there may be a little bit of extra depending on what's happening. But what I can guarantee you is there will be live music and fun. It'll be festive. It'll be something to kind of entertain. And so those are going to happen at 123 Main Street. So that's really kind of the start, that Cameron and Main intersection. In that parking lot there will be music. There will be a celebration like that in front of Avenir Place, Avenir Center. Assumption Place up here near City Hall. City Hall, of course, is going to have a big celebration outside. And then kind of in front of the mall on Champlain, that one generally is a flatbed truck with a band on the back of it.
Cool.
That kind of moves along the street a little bit so that you don't have to necessarily lose your spot where you're standing. Just stay there and the music will kind of come around to you.
That's neat.
It is. It's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think something to remember too when you're thinking about where to park your vehicle, you mentioned Champlain Place, that it's a business. Same thing goes for Sobeys. I know a lot of us Riverview people, we like to try to park in the Sobeys parking lot. I feel as though they probably don't appreciate that as CF Champlain. So, and if you are using their parking lot to view the parade, again, you may not get a chance to see Santa or some of the floats. Because there are street closures that come along with setting up the parade. Street closures start sometimes pretty early in the day so that floats can line up and get in and ready to go. So you will not at some point be able to get up Von Harvey or down Von Harvey to a certain extent.
Some of those will start at about 1 o'clock. The main closure of Main Street will be at 4.
Okay.
So if you're also someone who's like trying to avoid the area, you're someone who maybe likes to, order in dinner, you're thinking about doing skip the dishes or something that night, I would think of that in your planning, because between, I would say 3:30 and 8:30, it's going to be really difficult for anything extra to leave
Yes.
or get into downtown.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have to plan ahead a little bit. There's some links on Pickle Planet to the city's website where it talks about where the various municipal lots are. Municipal lots are free on the weekend. Street parking, you can't park on Main Street. They'll go through and have the things covered, and please respect those because they're there for a reason. But there is some side street parking, but again, be respectful of parking in designated spots and not blocking people's driveways.
Yes.
or assuming something looks like an empty lot. The lot belongs to someone.
Yeah.
So you can look at the maps online beforehand and plan out where you're going to go. And really, if you can take the time to make a day of it and spend your day in downtown Moncton Saturday, oh my goodness, we spent an afternoon in downtown Moncton this time last year. Oh, so much shopping, so much fun.
There's so many things and so many different stores to choose from. Obviously, Gifts Galore comes to mind right off the top of my
I was
head.
in last weekend.
Were you?
The trees look amazing.
Yeah, I can only imagine. They literally have something for everyone. You won't walk out of there empty-handed, that's for sure. And they're just one of many amazing businesses that are in downtown Moncton. Coffee shops and chocolate shops.
The chocolate shop on St. George. Get yourself fancy coffee or hot chocolate. Duo has you can't have it, but a cinnamon maple latte that was really good.
Oh, that does sound good though. I'm sure it's lovely.
Yes, yeah. There's so many spots, and so if you're looking for that kind of big city window display feel, we don't have a ton of those, but Gifts Galore, that's gonna hit the spot. Kept on Main,
That's
just
the
like
one I was thinking of,
take the walk. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
And that really has only taken us up to the Saturday. There's so much more the next couple weeks. But like you said, you can find that list on Pickle Planet of the other parades in the outlying communities. If you can't make it to the big one, or you're not in the big crowd vibe, if you're looking for an afternoon parade though, you're gonna have to go to St. John. That's the only one I found that's in the afternoon. Everything else is early evening, so the floats are all lit up, which is really kind of cool.
It's very cool. And the weather, we can't complain. It's been pretty good so far. So let's hope into late November. Last year's parade day was a nice day. So fingers crossed.
You just gotta plan ahead.
Yep,
Bring
that's
your
right.
extra mitts and scarves for yourself.
Yep.
Bring some glow sticks. Bring some snacks. It's all good. There's all kinds of tips on Pickle Planet for that
That's
too.
right. Again,
And your letters,
pickleplanetmoncton.com.
Yeah, your letters to Santa, your canned food for the food drive. It's all there. Thank you guys so much. I'm sure you will hear more about the holidays from us as we get a little bit closer, but we wanted to make sure you had this little heads up about some of the things you're going to want to know.
We'll see you next week.